I'm complying with all the rules. Your line of questioning is trying to invent new rules. I'm complying with the rules that Parliament has laid out and the responsibilities of the Ethics Commissioner. And I will continue to comply with those rules.
Guest this week is Duff Conacher, co-founder of Democracy Watch, and he's watching very closely the transition from the Trudeau years to the days and maybe even weeks of Mark Carney as Prime Minister of Canada. The former central banker is a man who wore many hats, but his biggest job before going into politics was as chair of Brookfield Asset Management. I mean, before then, of course, he was a central banker in England and Canada, but his most recent big job was chair of Brookfield Asset Management, which is a real estate finance and energy company that boasts $1 trillion of assets in its portfolio. At the end of 2024, according to a report that came out this week from Brookfield, Carney was eligible for $6.8 million in stock options that expire in 2033 and 2034. We don't exactly know everything about his finances, and we may not know them for months, because if he calls an election in the spring, he has no obligation under Canadian law to tell us about his assets until the summer. 120-day period where there's little that we can find out about him. Of course, Duff, is there anything that could stop him from volunteering that information now?
No, nothing at all. And actually, a lot of reporters have said, oh, we're going to learn after the 120-day period that's under the Federal Conflict of Interest Act, which is a federal political government ethics law. We will then know his assets and liabilities. And actually, no, not necessarily. There are even more loopholes that would allow him to hide those assets forever. And he'll know that he owns them, but and he'll be able to make decisions because of other loopholes in the ethics law that are huge and allow politicians to participate in decisions where they can profit from the decision. And he can keep all that information secret from the public.
And here we are in the post-Hogue Commission era, the foreign interference inquiry, which handed down its final report at the end of January, and government has taken little or no action on that. I mean, we've had a prorogued parliament.
And the Liberals are entirely to blame for this, because they delayed the inquiry from happening by having a sham investigation by an old friend of Justin Trudeau's, David Johnston, the former Governor General, who never should have been looking into Trudeau's activities and the activities of the Trudeau's cabinet, because he's a long-term family friend of the Trudeaus. And that delayed things by essentially a year. And even before that, the Liberals were delaying appointing him. And so this all should have been done, completely done, 2.5 years ago, which would have left lots of time for a bill to be passed before any election would occur, that would have effectively, if it was effective, would have closed a bunch of these loopholes to prevent foreign interference. The Hogue inquiry, at the same time, made some recommendations that were good, like closing some of these loopholes in nomination contests and party leadership contests, but also said disinformation is the most serious threat that we face. And then she didn't make any recommendations that are in any way effective to prevent, prohibit, or penalize disinformation. So she rolled over as well, unfortunately. And then we have the prorogation, and now rumors that Carney's going to call a snap election. Instead of taking a few weeks to work with the other parties and pass some measures to prevent, prohibit, and penalize foreign interference from tainting this federal election. And instead, he's acting in the partisan self-interest of the Liberals, who have caught up and eliminated the Conservatives' lead in the polls. And it's just a shame. In every single way, it's a shame. And this election is, I think, going to be undermined by foreign interference more than any other election has been. And it's, again, mainly the Liberals' fault, but it's really all parties' fault. All parties, the opposition parties had a majority of seats in Parliament. They could have passed measures to prevent, penalize, and prohibit foreign interference long ago if they wanted to. They didn't have to wait around for the Liberals. They had a majority in the House, and they could have done it. Passed the bill, sent it to the Senate, and dared the Senate to defy them. And it would be really difficult for unelected senators to say, oh, no, we think it's fine to allow for foreign interference. So all of them could have passed a bill long ago, and it should have been done. And really, politicians always say, "Oh, I don't understand why the public doesn't trust us." Because you do things like this. You leave loopholes open that allow for secret and unethical lobbying, allow you to profit from your own decisions, allow for excessive secrecy, sit around and play gotcha on foreign interference for years without actually dealing with it. That's why the public doesn't trust you, because you constantly act in your partisan self-interest instead of upholding the public interest and addressing real problems with real solutions.